For those of you who weren't here yesterday, I did the first part of 8.1 law of sines. It's a lot of calculator work. Got to make sure you're in degrees. Make sure you guys are in degrees. And you're just setting up proportions. All right, when you talk about a triangle, we're talking about non-right triangles. These are oblique, so they don't have any right triangles. So we use capital letters for our angles, lowercase letters for our side lengths, and your angles are across from their corresponding sides. So C is across from C, B is across from B, A is across from A, right? How many degrees are inside of a triangle? 180. So if they give you, just to recap from yesterday, if they give you two angles, how do you find the third angle? Yep, you add the two together, minus 180. So there's only one triangle possible there. If they give you a situation where you have one angle and two sides, what are the possibilities? You could have two triangles, you could have one triangle, or you could have zero, okay? So let's do this last example, and then we'll talk about area, and then we're done. Again, if there's not a picture, you should definitely draw one. So when they tell you to solve, I look at this, I say, okay, I'm looking for angle A and B, and I'm looking for side A. If the given angle, if there's two triangles, the given angle in triangle 1 will be the same in triangle 2. So let's think about this. I know that C is 31 degrees. So do I have, guys, an angle measure and its corresponding side length? Yes, right here. So I'm going to use this as my law of sines proportion. So I'm going to say the sine of 31 over 29 equals, and then what am I going to find? B. I have to find B because I know what side B is. So I'm going to say sine of B over 46. So how do we solve this proportion? So how do I solve this? What do I do? Guys, what do I do? Cross multiply. Okay, so I have 29 times the sine of B equals 46 times sine 31. And then I want to get sine of B by itself. So we divide both sides by 29. Remember, do everything in your calculator at the end. So when I find this value out, am I finding the angle measure? Yes or no? Come on, guys. Am I finding the angle measure? Yes or no? You have to do second sine. I get the sine of B is 0.81695. That is not the measure of the angle. That's the sine of the angle. So we're going to do second sine, second answer. And I get what? Angle B is how much? 54.78 degrees. All right, so I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, all right, in triangle 1, angle B is 54.78 degrees. How do I figure out if a second triangle is present? 180 minus. You're going to find the supplement. Good. So let's go ahead and say 180 minus 54.78. And I get what? 125.22 degrees. All right. So now how do I figure out if, again, I don't know for sure yet. How do I know if there is a second triangle present? What do I do with these two numbers? I'm going to add them and do what? Subtract from 180. So I add this plus 31 and I get 156.22. So what does that tell you? Yes, there is a second triangle. So I'm going to say 180 minus 156.22. So angle A in triangle number 2 is 23.78 degrees. How big is angle A in triangle 1? How would I figure that out? I'm going to add these two. So 31 plus 54.78. I get 85.78. So angle A in triangle 1 is 94.22 degrees. So what am I going to find now as far as side lengths are concerned in triangle 1 and triangle 2? I'm going to find A, right? I'm going to use this same proportion, sine 31 over 29, that's our given. And then I'm going to use sine of angle A over little a, cross multiply, and then the same thing with triangle 2. Make sense? All right, let's move on to area ones. All right, here's the area formula. We're going to talk about two different area formulas. Tomorrow we're going to talk about something called Heron's formula. It's when you have all three sides. But here, this is area of an oblique triangle. You guys are familiar with right triangles, 1/2 base times sides, right? We can't use that because we don't have a triangle that has right angles. These are oblique. So when you are given two sides and the angle included, where is the angle in regards to the sides, guys? Where is the angle in regards to the sides? In the middle. All right, when you are given that information, this is the formula. You take 1/2 times the two sides times the sine of the angle in the middle. You don't have to memorize all of these, the BC times sine of A, AB times sine of B. It's the two sides times the sine of the angle in between. So this is what it would look like, all right? I don't have a picture, so I drew one. Do you guys notice how you have two sides, and where is the angle that they gave you to use? In the middle. So how would we do this? We would just set this up literally as easy as I'm making it. You say 1/2 times, what are the two side lengths? 90, 52. And then I times it by the sine of the angle that's in the middle. So in your calculators, peeps, 1/2, or you can say divided by 2, whatever you want to do. So 90 times 52 times the sine of 102 divided by 2. What do you get? What do we get? 2,288, round to 2 decimal places, 0.87. And we are talking about what unit of measurement? Meters. And since it's area, it's meters what? Squared. All right, just say, guys, you might see on WebAssign, you might draw your triangle, and they give you two sides, but they don't give you the angle in the middle. You've got to find the angle that is in between the two sides. So you'd have to use law of sines or whatever, but just use your problem solving skills. But in this case, draw the picture, and what do they give us? They give us two sides and the angle where? In between those two, all right? So I'm literally going to write down 1/2 times. My two sides are 24 and 18. And I times that by the sine of the angle in the middle, which is 80. So throw that in your calculator. 24 times 18 times the sine of 80. And then I like to divide it by 2. What do you guys get? Say it again. 212.72. You guys agree? All right. And what is the unit that we're talking about? Yards what? Squared. All right. That's it for area. That's why I saved it for today. I knew we were going to be a little short on attendance due to the AP Human Geo. So now you guys have the rest of the class period to just work on the WebAssign that I put up yesterday. I think it's 13 questions? Some of them should be done already because I know you guys worked on them last night, right? Okay.